Russia, the last country on this list. Russia, as you all know, is invading Ukraine. That's not going to be very important in this video. This video is about the Caucasus. Now, the reason Russia is on this list is because there is a part of Russia right about here that is considered to be part of the Caucasus. Now, Russia's history really begins all the way back in 862 CE with the Rus state in the north, ruled by Varangians, as I say it. Some of the newly established cities, such as Zaria, Ladoga, and Novgorod, quickly became the major cities and saw hundreds of immigrants coming from Scandinavian and Slavic states. In 882, Prince Oleg of Novgorod seized Kiev, uniting the northern and southern lands of the Eastern Slavs under one authority. The state later adopted Christianity from the Byzantine Empire in 988, beginning the mix of Byzantine and Slavic cultures that defined Russian culture for the next millennium. Kievan Rus ultimately disintegrated as a state due to the Mongol invasions in 1237 and 1242 CE, along with the resulting deaths of significant members of the population. After the 13th century, Moscow became a political and cultural center. Moscow had become a center for the unification of Russian lands. By the end of the 15th century, Moscow united the northern and northwestern Russian principalities, and in 1480 finally overthrew the Mongol rule. The territories of the Grand Duchy of Moscow became the Tsardom of Russia in 1547, created by Ivan the Terrible. In 1721, Tsar Peter the Great renamed his kingdom as the Russian Empire, hoping to associate it with historical and cultural achievements of ancient Rus, in contrast to his policies oriented towards Western Europe. The empire then extended from the eastern borders of the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth to the Pacific Ocean. Russia had become a great power and dominated Europe after the victory over Napoleon in 1812. However, peasant revolts were common and were all fiercely suppressed. The Emperor, Alexander II, abolished Russian serfdom in 1861, but the peasants were still poor and mistreated, and revolutionary pressures grew. In the following decades, reform efforts such as the Stolypin reforms of 1906 to 1914, the Constitution of 1906, and the State Duma of 1906 to 1917 attempted to open and recreate the economy and political system, but the emperor refused to surrender autocratic rule and resisted sharing his power, leading to a rise up in the Russian Empire and kicking the Tsar, Tsar Nicholas II, out of power and leaving a communist dictatorship led by Vladimir Lenin, which caused a civil war which lasted from 1917 to 1922 and saw the creation of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, USSR for short. The USSR lasted until December 25, 1991, creating the Russian Federation we know of today. Now, Russia today is not a very good place to live. It is one of the most censored countries in the world and has been under a dictator named Vladimir Putin since 2012. The country has not a very stable economy and the people live in relative poverty, especially now with the sanctions that hit Russia. Overall, Russia is just not in a good position right now and will most likely stay in its bad position until a change of government happens. Whether it's peaceful or not just depends on what happens in the future.